They said I'd never be worth anything. They said I'd never belong in their world of power and privilege. But when I walked into the boardroom they once ruled, wearing the title they used to mock me for, every single one of them stood up. Because I wasn't the girl they dismissed anymore. I was the woman signing their paychecks. My name is Luna Voss, and the only thing my family ever taught me was how to rise after being thrown away. I wasn't born rich. I was born as their reminder of imperfection. My mother had remarried into the Voss family, one of the most powerful names in luxury retail. To them, I was the stepdaughter, polite, quiet, and unwanted. At every dinner, they'd speak of profit margins and properties while I silently passed the dishes. If I ever spoke up, my stepbrother Daniel would smirk. "Luna, maybe you should focus on finding a husband. Business isn't really your strength." Laughter. Always laughter. But I listened. Every word, every number, every deal they discussed at that grand mahogany table. Because while they thought I was invisible, I was learning. When I turned 19, I applied to the Voss Corporation as an intern anonymously. They didn't even recognize my name on the email. I worked in their logistics department, learning the entire structure from the ground up. While my family attended galas and vacations, I stayed late in the cold office, surrounded by files and coffee cups. 2 years later, the whispers began. The company was losing market share. Daniel was reckless, spending millions on vanity projects and parties. My stepfather refused to see it. And when I suggested modernizing their digital strategy, they laughed. "What would you know about running a legacy brand?" he sneered. I left that day, not out of defeat, but with fire in my chest. If they wouldn't listen, I'd build something that would make them. I used my savings, barely enough to rent a tiny space in an old warehouse. I called my brand Lunara, a name they'd never be able to ignore. It started with handmade luxury handbags crafted by local artisans. I reached out to small designers they'd rejected for being too unknown. We collaborated, created, and posted our story online. In 6 months, our first collection sold out. In a year, influencers were carrying Lunara across Europe. In 2, our products were displayed in the same luxury boutiques that once belonged to the Voss empire. And that was just the beginning. The press started comparing us. Lunara, the modern rival of Voss luxury. I smiled every time I read it. Meanwhile, Voss Corporation was crumbling. Their social image outdated, their leadership desperate. Daniel's arrogance had become their downfall. They hosted lavish events to hide the cracks, but the market saw through them. Then, one afternoon, as I sat in my glass office overlooking the London skyline, my assistant walked in. "Luna, Voss Corporation is seeking investors. They're losing control of their board." For a moment, I froze. The irony was poetic. 2 weeks later, I was in the boardroom they once barred me from entering. The same portraits on the wall. The same mahogany table. But this time, I sat at the head. My stepfather looked smaller than I remembered. Daniel avoided my gaze. The chairman cleared his throat. "Miss Voss, we've reviewed your offer. It's generous. You'll gain majority ownership of the brand." I looked at Daniel, his pride crumbling. "Then let's make it official," I said. The contract was signed. Voss Corporation, the empire that mocked me, now belonged to me. For a long moment, silence filled the room. Then my stepfather said quietly, "Luna, this company was built by generations of our family." I met his eyes. "And saved by the one you tried to erase." That night, I walked through the empty hallways of Voss headquarters. Every corner echoed with memories of laughter that once stung. But now, the echoes were mine. The receptionist greeted me with "Good night, Ms. Voss," and for the first time in my life, the name didn't hurt. It belonged to me. Over the next few months, I restructured everything: modern branding, ethical sourcing, digital presence. The old guard resisted, but success silenced them. Within a year, Voss Luxury was back at the top, reimagined, reborn, and led by the woman they said would never be worth anything. One morning, during a press interview, a journalist asked, "What motivates you the most, Ms. Voss?" I smiled slightly. "Redemption doesn't always come through revenge," I said. "Sometimes it comes through evolution." The article went viral. People loved the story. The forgotten girl turned CEO. But the best part came later that evening when I received an email. It was from Daniel. Subject: Congratulations. Message: You proved us wrong.
No apology. No excuses.
Just the smallest acknowledgement, and that was enough. Weeks later, my stepfather asked to meet. We sat in my office, the roles reversed. I underestimated you, he said quietly. I leaned back.
No, irraplía.
You never saw me at all. He nodded slowly. You've done what none of us could. And for the first time, his tone carried something I'd never heard from him: respect. After he left, I stood by the window, watching the city lights shimmer. I thought of that 19-year-old intern, invisible and unwanted, staring at the same skyline through a dirty apartment window. She had no power, no voice, no support. But she had a dream, and that was enough. Sometimes, I visit the old warehouse where Lenara began. The paint is still cracked, the floor uneven. I run my fingers across the first handmade bag we ever produced. It's imperfect, just like I was, but it carries the story of every night I refused to give up. Now, both brands, Voss and Lenara, exist under one name, LV Collective. And beneath it, engraved in gold, are the words I live by: built, not born. Because in a world that measured me by what I lacked, I built everything they couldn't imagine. And the next time someone tells me I'm not worth anything, I just smile. Because worth can't be given. It's created.